Hey, what's going on, everybody? I want to talk about seasons and why it's important to be where you're supposed to be in the right season. I'm going to start off with this quick scripture. Like some of the old time pastors usually say, oh, this is a familiar passage of scripture. Ecclesiastes 3, reading from verse 1 to verse 8. There is time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I think it's really important for you to recognize the season that you're in and what time that you're in, because sometimes you want to receive a blessing, sometimes you want to get a promotion, sometimes you want to, achieve a goal, but the timing may not be right for that thing. So what I believe God is telling people is that be patient and also wait for God's timing. Sometimes you want to run when it's time to just walk. Sometimes you want to move when God is saying rest. So you don't want to be out of God's timing because you end up stumbling and falling into things you don't need to be in. Prime example, if you go to 2 Samuel chapter 11 verse 1, it talks about when David sinned with Bathsheba. Now, the first line is all you need to know about David sinning with Bathsheba. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. So now, why is that important? Because the timing, what the season was for kings to go out to war. Where was David? He stayed home. All right. So David was out of the timing he was supposed to be at. So if you read the story along, he goes and he sees this woman named Bathsheba. She's on her rooftop taking a shower. She's butt naked, And the problem isn't with Bathsheba. The problem is David is not where he's supposed to be. You ever been home alone and been comfortable? Or you ever just been in a place where, no one else is supposed to be home, no one else is supposed to be around, and all of a sudden someone is there and they're catching you in a position where, if they weren't there, you wouldn't have been caught in a position. Why? Because that person wasn't supposed to be in that area. Okay, David was not supposed to be home. David was supposed to be out to war with his men. Instead, what he did was he sent out men and he stayed home. So had David been in the right place at the right time, he would have never sinned with that person. Also, another example is, have you ever, been to a department store, a Macy's, a Sears, so on and so forth, and you see their clothes? They're always putting out clothes for the next season. So, you're in the summertime, you see the fall clothes. You'll see in the, winter, in the beginning in the winter time, you start seeing winter clothes into spring clothes. You'll never see fall clothes, and you'll never see summer clothes in the fall time. Why? Because it's not the season for that, and they're not going into that season. It would be awkward and inappropriate for them to be selling clothes that don't fit the season they're coming into, and you wouldn't make much money. Okay, so the season you're in and what God is asking you to do is very, very important. So I'm going to challenge you. All right, read Ecclesiastes, read 2 Samuel, and get a feel for what seasons and how seasons play a part. Because if you see what happened to David in 2 Samuel, you'll see how one man being out of position, out of sync, in the wrong season affects this whole crazy change. All right. I also challenge you to, get in some alone time with God and figure out what season does he have you in. Is it your time to sow? Is it your time to reap? Is it your time to walk? Is it your time to sit down? What season does God have you in? All right, so until next time, it's your boy Chris Theodat. See you later.